Hey guys, so many of you ask me for tutorials on the things that I don't have patterns for because I basically freehand everything. But I do want to share the process for how I make some of my pieces, and today we are starting with this sunburst granny square, hopefully a cardigan but might end up being a sweater situation. I'm not totally sure what it's going to end up being like, but let's go on this journey together. So I've been working on this cardigan for a few days now, and I've just now thought to make a video about it, but better late than never, so let's go ahead and go through this process together and see how this piece turns out. And hopefully with what you guys see from this video, you are able to, piece together your very own sweater. So in order to do this, I'm going to use the concept of connecting 5 squares together to make this cardigan. I'm going to have one large back panel, 2 panels for the sleeves, and then 2 smaller panels that will make up the front halves of my sweater. Each of my 2 front panels are made up of 4 granny squares, and my back panel is made up of 8 granny squares. And at this point, I have no idea what I'm doing for the sleeves yet, so we'll figure out what that is a little bit later. And I do wear a size extra small, so if you want your sweater to be bigger, you're going to want to make more granny squares to accommodate your desired size. So I made 1 granny square and I just measured it. They're 6 by 6, or at least mine are. So I went ahead and I took my granny square and I calculated how many squares I would need to cover just 1 front panel. Then I went ahead and took away a few from the top and bottom because I wanted to do a different design. So I only ended up needing 4 squares for each of my front 2 panels. And then to determine how many squares I was going to need for the back, I just took the amount of squares I had for one of my front panels and multiplied it by 2. For me, that was 8. I know, some really complicated math here, but that will be the total number of squares that you'll want for the back. Oh, and how could I possibly forget to mention the type of yarn that I'm using? It's kind of important. So I've been using a weight 4 yarn to make this, and I have no idea how much yarn I'm going to need to complete this, but to do my 2 front panels and my back panel, I've used up about 2 skeins of this yarn. Each skein was 300 yards, and I'm currently using a 5mm crochet hook. So let's go ahead and get into making these granny squares. Okay, so to start off my granny square, I went ahead and I made a magic circle. And then once that's done, you're going to go ahead and chain 3 and then put 11 double crochets in the magic circle. We are not counting this chain 3 right now, so to do a double crochet, you're going to yarn over, reach into your magic circle and pull up a loop. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through your remaining 2 loops. And you're just going to go ahead and repeat this 10 more times because we need 11 of these double crochets. Alright, so I did my double crochets and now I'm just going back to count like all of them and make sure that I have 11. So we have this chain 3, which we are going to include that now, but I'm not going to include it to count up my 11 double crochets. So counting the actual double crochets, I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so I have 11 double crochets plus my chain of 3. So you should have 12 double crochets altogether, that is including the chain 3. Then pull the tail end nice and tight to close off the circle, and then you're just going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. From there you're going to go ahead and chain 1 and then pull that tight so you don't later mistake that as a stitch. But that is the end of round 1. Then for the next round, we'll be working around the double crochet post as well as the actual top of the stitches. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into the same stitch that you just slip stitched into and put your first single crochet. And then in that same post, you're going to go ahead and do a double crochet. So in this chain 3, that's our first post, you're going to go around and reach behind it, and you yarn over and pull up a loop, then you yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through the next 2. So that's how we're going to go around our post. So then we're going to move over to the next stitch, and in the actual stitch itself, you're going to put 1 single crochet. And now working in the post right below that single crochet stitch we just did, we're going to put a double crochet around that post. And that is going to be our repeat for this round. So in the next stitch, 1 single crochet and then 1 double crochet around the post right below it. So go ahead and repeat this all the way around this round, and I'll meet you at the end. You should have 24 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, so I'm finishing up my last stitch, and then to double check your stitch count, you should be able to just count 24 of the V stitches at the top of this round. 12 of them belong to the single crochets that we put in the actual stitch, and then the other 12 belong to the double crochets we put around the post. So once you're done, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet of this round, then chain 1, and pull that chain 1 tight so we don't mistake it as a stitch later on. Now for the next round, we're going to be making clusters, and I kind of like change this up a little bit because I don't know, I tend to mess these up. But in that very same first stitch we just slip stitched into, you're going to go ahead and chain 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet in this cluster. Then you're going to yarn over, and in that same stitch you're going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over again, reach into that same stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook now. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through the remaining 3 loops. And that is how I personally like to do my clusters so I don't mess them up. So then from there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to chain 3. You're going to skip the next stitch, and then in the following stitch, we're going to do our next cluster. So once again, to make this a bit simpler for myself, I'm going to start off with a regular double crochet. Then I'm going to yarn over, reach into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, but instead of completing that double crochet, I'll yarn over again, go back in the same loop, pull up a loop, then pull through 2 loops, and then I can go ahead and yarn over and pull through the remaining 3. Then once again, chain 3, skip the next stitch, and in the following, you're going to put yet another cluster. So I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around till I get to the end. You should be able to count 12 of these clusters by the end of this round. So keep going and I'll meet you guys at the end. I'm now at my last cluster, and as you can see, I have 3 stitches left. I already did my chain 3, so I'm going to go ahead and put my last cluster in that second to last stitch. Then I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. And to end off this round, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this first cluster. Then I'll chain 1 and pull that nice and tight. And this is what your work should look like as of now. And for this next round, we're going to be working around the clusters as well as putting double crochets into the chain 3 spaces. So go ahead and loosen up the tension on your yarn just a little bit and put 1 double crochet around this cluster. Okay, so now I have a double crochet around my cluster. Next we're going to put 3 double crochets into the chain 3 space. And that is going to be the pattern for this round. So once again, reaching around the very next cluster, put 1 double crochet around that cluster. And then move over to the chain 3 space and put 3 double crochets into that chain 3 space. And just keep continuing around this row and I will meet you guys towards the end. Now it's time to finish off this round by slip stitching into the first stitch of this round, which belongs to the double crochet that wraps around our cluster. Then we're going to go ahead and chain 1 and pull it nice and tight, and that's the end of this round. Now this next round we're going to be working on will create the corners to bring this into a square, or to bring the square into this granny square. So we'll start off by doing a chain of 3, but I actually like to do like 1 single crochet and then chain 2 from there. I don't know, just whatever, it's a personal thing. But you could do a chain of 3 and then you will go ahead and put 2 more double crochets into the exact same stitch. Then you're going to chain 3 and put 3 more double crochets into that same stitch. And this is going to create our first corner. And there we go, we have our first official corner. So then moving over to our very next stitch, we're going to put 1 double crochet in there. Then in the following stitch we're going to put 1 half double crochet in there. And then in the next 7 stitches, we are going to put 1 single crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we are going to work those stitches that we just did backwards as we get ready to approach our next corner. So in the next stitch we'll do 1 half double crochet, then in the following stitch we'll do 1 double crochet, and then this next stitch is going to be our next corner, so we'll do 3 double crochets into that stitch. Then we're going to chain 3 and put 3 more double crochets into the exact same stitch. Alright, and there we go. We officially have 2 of our 4 corners done. So we're just going to go ahead and repeat what we did for the first 2 corners. So after the second corner, we put 1 double crochet into the next stitch. Then put 1 half double crochet in the stitch after that. And then 1 single crochet into the next 7 stitches. Alrighty, and we are now approaching our next corner, so in the next stitch we have to do 1 half double crochet, and then the stitch after that gets 1 double crochet, and then there we go, that brings us to our next corner. So that will be 3 double crochets, then a chain of 3, and then 3 more double crochets, all in that same exact stitch. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and keep repeating this pattern until you get back towards the beginning of this round, and I'll go ahead and meet you guys once we get down there. Alright, and I finished making my last corner here, and I just finished my 7 single crochets. I now have 2 stitches left. And now I have to put 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, and 1 double crochet in the very last stitch. And then the next thing after that was our very first corner that we did. So to end off this round, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 of this round. Then chain 1 and pull it nice and tight. Alright, now moving into our final round, we are going to do nothing but half double crochets and chains. So we have 3 stitches leading into this corner space. Hopefully you can kind of see it okay. So we have our stitch that we slip stitched into, which kind of looks weird because I didn't go into the V perfectly, but I'm there. And then we have this next one right after it, which can be kind of hard to see, but that's our second stitch, and then this is our third one, and then we have our actual like chain 3 corner space. So we are going to be putting 1 half double crochet into every one of these stitches. So one in the very first stitch that we just slip stitched into, then go ahead and reach into that second one with a half double crochet, then our third half double crochet, working our way to our corner. Then we have our corner space, so you're going to put 3 half double crochets in here. And then chain 3. And then we're going to put 3 more half double crochets into the same chain space. And then you can go ahead and put 1 half double crochet in every stitch leading up to our next corner. So now I'm at my next corner, and I'm going to go ahead and put 3 half double crochets into the corner chain 3 space. Then I'm going to chain another 3 and put 3 more half double crochets all into this chain 3 space. And then just go ahead and keep repeating that on all of your remaining sides until you reach the end of this round. Alright, so now I'm at the end of this round, so I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the very first stitch of this round. And then as usual, I'm going to chain 1 and pull that nice and tight. And this is what your completed square should look like. Go ahead and repeat this process over until you have however many squares you need to make your sweater. So once you have the total amount of granny squares that you need for your sweater, you're going to start connecting them. And I did that by just lining up like my sides and slip stitching together the amount of squares that I decided I wanted to use for each panel. I went ahead and I did that for both my 2 front panels and my back panel. Then after I got my granny squares connected for each of my panels, I reconnected my yarn into the top corner and went back and forth with double crochets to create a like curved neckline. And for the bottom, I decided to just do a few rows of just your basic granny stitch. And if you need some assistance with doing the granny stitch, I'll have a tutorial linked in the description to help out with that. Alright, so I now have gotten you guys caught up to everything that I've done so far. So if you are making this along with me, you should have your 2 front panels. You didn't have to, but if you decided to do decreases, they should be like on the inside facing towards your collarbone. And then I have my back panel. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to line up my 3 pieces with like the good sides like facing together, sandwiched, and then I'm going to slip stitch all across like this top part here for the shoulder, and then halfway down, probably starting at the corner where the two granny squares meet, from there down I'm gonna slip stitch that part together as well, and it'll just leave like an opening at the portion where, you know, like the sleeve or your arm would go. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll figure out what I'm gonna do for the sleeves. And then I also kind of wanted to play around with knitting like the very bottom and the neckline of this sweater. We'll see if that actually like works out or not. Let me go ahead and, you know, seam up these pieces so then we can start experimenting and see what's gonna happen after. Okay, so I seamed up the sides here, and then from like there down, and I think this is looking really freaking good so far. I'm really surprised at how this is turning out. I know I want to do like a collar thing. If I can get a zipper on here, that would be literally chef's kiss, but if not, I'll just do like ribbing along the sides, and then maybe I'll just do buttons to make it a little bit simpler for myself. But I think the next thing I want to tackle is trying to figure out how I'm gonna go about the sleeves. I don't think I want to make any more of these like granny squares. I want it to be cohesive, I want it to flow, so maybe if I like bring this kind of into it a little bit more, then I can just let the granny squares just be on the body. I'm gonna play around with it for like one sleeve, and then I'll get back to you guys and let you know what it is I kind of come up with. Hi guys. So I meant to film me doing one of the sleeves and I forgot. So I'll tell you what I did, because I really didn't do anything special. So the same way I did like this little three rows of the granny stitch, I did just like the same thing for the sleeve. And then I decided to do like 2 rows of just double crochets just to switch it up a little bit. I don't know what I thought I was doing there, but I tried it and I was like, okay, whatever, I'll stick with it. So I did that, and then I just went back the rest of the way with the granny stitch. And I do have this like a little short because I'm gonna steam it afterwards, and I, you know, want it to be like, you know, more stretched out or whatever. I am going to, or at least I think I'm going to do like a ribbed cuff part here, as well as around the neckline down, obviously like the front, and then right along the very bottom. Okay, so it's a few days later, and I think I've done as much as I'm going to do with the actual like sweater itself. So this is what it's kind of looking like. I have my sleeves. I did go in and add like, I think an extra 3 rows on the granny stitch for the bottom, just because I feel like I want it to be just a smidge longer. So next I'm gonna start working on the ribbing. I'm gonna start off with making a little long ribbed, what's it called? Just a long strip of ribbing to go along the bottom length of my sweater. Then I guess do the like side front part so I can attach my buttons, which I did decide I'm gonna do buttons and not a zipper. So I got those today as well, so I'll do that, and then I'll end off with doing the neckline. I'm very happy that I'm coming to the end. So next up I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to go about doing my ribbing, and then we'll connect it all on there, and hopefully I will be done this today or tomorrow. I just want to wear my sweater because I'm really loving how this is looking so far, so I'm so excited. But let's go ahead and get into this ribbing. Yeah, I wasn't fond of the way that I did the ribbing for the bottom portion of this sweater, so go ahead and just take a look at the description. I linked a tutorial on a much more simpler way to attach your ribbing than what I was doing. Yeah. I just finished making the full length of my bottom ribbing that's going to go like around the waistband. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some little like clips or whatever, and I'm going to stretch it out so that way it lines up perfectly along the whole bottom portion of my sweater. and I did it so it was a little bit shorter so that way it would like cinch in the sides a little bit, because, or I should cinch in the sides, cinch in the bottom, because this is a bit of a looser fit and I just want to like bring it in a little bit. And I'll show you what it looks like once they're adhered to one another. I'm really excited with how everything has come out so far. Like, look at this. This is what my sweater is looking like so far. I have not used or followed a sweater tutorial or used a pattern. If you just take a time to think about the shapes that your clothing comes in and you recreate those shapes, I do think that you can recreate anything. But this is what I have so far. I'm gonna go ahead and put on my buttons. I'm going to weave in my ends and I'm going to steam this a bit, and then I will show you my sweater's final form. I'm so excited and so happy with how this has turned out so far, and it's got me really excited to start making, you know, just like more intricate stuff. I feel like as a beginner, like you tend to do the projects that are not only more simple, but they just require less work because you want to be done. And I still very much like my projects to be like a few hours and then I'm done. I want to get a project done in one sitting basically. But this took me a few days and I've really enjoyed the process of making this whole thing. So I'm feeling really inspired and hopeful for all the other things that I plan to make throughout the year. And this is my first sweater of, I don't know, many sweaters, but my first of many things that I would like to make, thinking of my like fall and winter wardrobe. I know we're just getting into summer, but I really kind of want to be like ahead of the game. So I'm still going to play around and have some fun, make some things I can wear throughout the summer season. But I want to have like my winter wardrobe or fall wardrobe, whatever, like together before I ever step foot into the fall season. So this is what she looks like so far. Front, back, sides. And I will show you guys the final piece when I'm done. So I'm gonna go turn on some good music and I'm gonna power through these final steps, and I'll probably do my last little check-in with you guys tomorrow. And this is what my final sweater turned out like. I think it is so stunning. I am super excited to wear it, and I can already tell that this is going to be one that I reach for a lot this upcoming fall. I absolutely love this, so much so that I ended up making another one in gray, and I think I still might have a few more designs brewing up in my brain, so let's see what I come up with next.